What's up, Facebook, D Live, and YouTube? How are you all doing? Waiting on my man J Kev. See if we can get him up in here. There he is. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? I see you got the mellow tunes on tonight. You kind of slowing it down tonight.
Yeah, playing that glory. It's like you're gonna talk about freedom, you gotta play the glory song by Common, right?
Yeah, you gotta
Emancipation.
play. You gotta play something that's gonna be conducive. Hey, Tiffany, to what we're talking about tonight. Not gonna be long. Just gonna have a short conversation about what are you willing to do for
Mix that up.
freedom. And what kind of got me going on this trajectory, a train of thought today is I was having a conversation with somebody earlier, and they had given me a piece of insight or advice or suggestions when it comes to financial wealth building, your financial life, well-being, and wealth building that somebody worth millions had passed on to them and what he often passed on to his clients. And one of those things one of those nuggets to me was that when it comes to wealth building, what are you willing, what's hold on to at least one or two things that you're not willing to give up, go all out in those areas. And then the other areas in your life, without mercy, reduce them to as minimal as you can possibly withstand as a human being in your life, and begin the process of accumulating assets, begin the process of taking care of your tax burdens, getting the process of getting educated if you need to, as far as your wealth. But I just thought it was a good piece of advice in that today we're often told to just get rid of everything and go low on everything. And he was like, no, I tell my clients that are worth millions, I tell them to maximize, go luxury level on at least one or two things that they can absolutely not do without. And every other aspect of your life, reduce it to as much as painful as a level that you could bear and withstand, and that those around you can withstand and bear, and begin the process of building your financial health, for your financial well-being in life.
What's up,
So
Dustin?
it just brought to light the question of, what are you willing to give up for freedom in every area of your life? We often point to the four pillars to keep it simple: health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Yep.
What are you willing to give up to have freedom in every area of your life? And what does that freedom even look like? What are some crystal clear visions or crystal clear ideas do you have about being free in your health, being free when it comes to your financial life, being free when it comes to your wealth building, being free when it comes to your love life and relationships,
What's
and
up,
being
Lee?
free when it comes to what it means to be spiritually happy, spiritually content, at a soul satiating level, meaning that every notch on your life is being hit and being hit continually, that you're not living in a state of poverty or lack in any area of your life, but all your needs are being met, and you're free to just be a creative human being that is not only living for yourself, but living more so for the greater cause, and living for giving, and living for a life of charity, being at the being used as a tool, a piece of equipment to bring salt and light and freedom to people's lives that may some way, shape, or form be attached to you, or you that you may become cross paths with in your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Jason said if you're willing to give up your freedom or liberty for some temporary assistance, means that you don't really want freedom or liberty. Uh, and so I'm assuming that he's just talking about that if you're just willing to basically fork over your freedom for something that's temporary, then you don't want freedom at all. And so
Mm.
in that aspect, I can definitely agree. But going back to what you were saying, being crystal clear is of the utmost importance when it comes to this topic.
Yes.
You have to be crystal clear on what it is you want. You have to define those boundaries. You have to define what that is. Even going back to defining, like you said, what things you can't live without, and everything else just burn.
The heck with it. Well, for to keep it practical and keep giving example, I naturally did this a few years back, and that I'm a big foodie, and I love good high luxury level organic food, top quality, top notch. That's what I am. So in my life, that's one of the things, and the other one is I value my relationships with my family and with my sons to the utmost importance, to where everything else, the heck, I've crossed the Rubicon when it comes to in my younger years. I was chasing the American dream, and I didn't understand. I had no clue, no understanding about how the American dream was actually uh, had me ensnared into an American nightmare.
Yeah,
And then
true.
when I crossed the Rubicon, there were two things that I wasn't gonna let go of. There was good food, and then my relationship with my family and with my sons. Everything else, the heck with. So, if you look out my driveway, you won't find anything spectacular. You'll find something that gets me from point A to point B. If you look at my closet, you're not going to find anything top notch. You're just going to find some simple clothes that's going to keep me, at least keep some clothes on my back, keep me respectable. If you come, if you come in my, if you come in my house, if you come in my place, you're going to find like a few pots, maybe a few dishes. You're not gonna find anything extraordinary. Uh, if you're gonna find like a couch. You're gonna find like a small TV, and that TV was given to me. That's the only reason I have the TV is because somebody gave me a TV. But you will find a lot of books laying around the place. You're gonna find a lot of books. Actually, I had to get rid of a lot of books. 'Cause I didn't have a lot of. I didn't have a place to put all the books.
Yeah, I
So it's
want to
like,
get rid of
bruh,
some of my books, man.
it's like, bruh, you ain't got nothing in here but books and good food. Well, what else you need? No, but so after crossing over and making some decisions, those are the two things that I can't live without. Good health, good food is contributing to my good health, and then relationships.
Yeah,
Everything else, the heck with. Whereas
it's
a
funny.
younger me,
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
what's
go
funny, real
ahead.
quick. I recently asked my wife. I was like, to what point would cause so much strife in our marriage? Uh, because I was trying to see how far I could go in terms of getting rid of everything. I was like, at what point is the tipping point? I was like, if I did this, would you be upset? How upset would you be, right? Because I definitely understand the aspect of you have to chuck burdens. The scripture said, lay all your burdens aside, the things that heavily weigh you down, right?
The
And
weights that
there's
we
so
pick
many,
up, yeah.
yeah, the ways that so easily beset us, right? And there's so many burdens that we compile upon ourselves for no reason. My man Michael, brother Jackson here, he said, just being a slave to debt and those kinds of things. We enslave ourselves a lot of times with things that we don't even need, things that we don't value, and that could be material things. It could be things that are related to our health. A lot of times we slave ourselves. It was funny. I was watching a commercial today. I know I'm jumping around. Uh, and it was on Facebook. I was looking at some Facebook feeds, and they have these recipes for this dessert, and like for different desserts. And I was like, how decadent can you get before you get sick of it. Right? You know, it's like cause I was looking at this thing and it was just like, all I saw was just piles and piles of sugar on top of something, right? And
Yeah.
I was just like, how far can you go with that before you
You go
realize
pretty
that,
far.
yeah, that I know I could go pretty far.
I can go pretty far with it.
But after it seems like to a point it would get so sickening that you can't even tolerate it anymore, right? But
Yeah.
oftentimes the way that we slip into that is that we do it gradually. We do it so gradually that we don't even realize it's like, oh man, I have this pile and mountain of things. I have this mountain of bad health. I have this mountain of whatever it is that's killing you, that's keeping you from being completely free, right? And so it just really, like you said, getting crystal clear on what your vision of freedom is, how you want to be free, and if it's physically free, financially free, how do you want to be in that freedom? It's one thing to be financially free but still have bad health, right? Or it's another thing to be in good health and be in debt up to your eyeballs, right? It's eventually they're gonna kill both sides of it, right? It's like if you're in good health and you have a lot of financial troubles, that stress will kill your good health. And likewise, if you're in a financially good situation but you don't take care of your health, it don't even matter anyway. So there has to be a balance, but you have to again define what it is that you want out of life.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to define it. I mean, it gets to the point of you have to really think about, okay, once you obtain this freedom, how does life look after obtaining whatever you've clarified as being the freedom for you? And you may be surprised at how close that picture, that reality is to you. It's really
Yeah,
just at the snap or at the flip of a thought. Really, it really is. And first and foremost, true freedom begins in the heart when you connect and you resonate and your consciousness or your awareness is raised, and then you allow that to infiltrate and saturate your mind,
you're
and
talking
then
about me.
hopefully it carries over to your behavior and carries out to behavior to your how you act and how you move and how you live in this life.
Yep.
So literally at the flip of perception and thought, you can start living in freedom. And once you taste it, it's hard to go back.
No, it's extremely hard to go
What
back.
it's like the red pill, blue pill. We often use that movie, The Matrix, as a pick, an analogy of how it can be and how often it is that once your eyes are opened, it's hard to keep them closed. And
Yes, man.
once you taste and get some of that freedom, it's hard to go back.
Yeah.
So yeah, being crystal clear about that, your health, how do you want to be? Your wealth, how do you want to be? Somebody, Michael talked about being debt free. You wanna live in an asset rich life, right? Versus being in debt. You want to live functionally fit to where you can be 60 years old, jumping out planes, vacationing, just walking the beach comfortably. You know, that's the picture that's in my mind. When it comes to your relationships and love, you want to have those get-togethers with significant others where it's conflict low. It's never conflict free, but it's
It's
conflict
positive.
low. And if
It's
there is
positive.
conflict, yeah, you can resolute it real quick, and you can have those moments where everybody can just chill and relax and enjoy each other's company. Those not only do you have connection, but you have deep, meaningful connection, and then your happiness. That I often talk about the serotonin versus the dopamine hits, the pleasure of dopamine versus the contentment and happiness of serotonin. So, what does it look like for you? What are you willing to give up to get it? That's the real question that I'm asking everybody out there tonight who may be joining in. And that's the question that I was pondering before we got on. for tonight's topic.
Yeah, definitely put your comments in the comments. What it is that you define as freedom for you. How are you going to get there? And also, again, it's he said it's as easy or as simple as a thought. Yeah, the topic is freedom, and
What are
what are
you
you
willing to
willing to
do
give up?
for the freedom?
Yeah, what are you willing to give up for that freedom? And oftentimes, it's closer than you think, right? It's really a lot closer than you think if you're willing to sacrifice a few things. And there's really not a whole lot of things in most cases. That is funny is I always liken it to the monkey that grabs the salt in the jar and
Yeah,
the fact that he will not open his hand. Freedom is just as simple as him opening his
letting
hand
it
and
go.
walking away. And too often we have our hand in the jar, not willing to give up on the salt, right? We're not willing to give up on the things that are keeping us bound, that are keeping us in basically being held hostage to the things that we have that we no longer probably even use, right? You know,
Use, don't want, don't care anything about.
yeah,
We just
but you
got it.
don't want to give it up anyway. You just want to consume more and more for no apparent reason at all. So often, like I said, the freedom is a lot closer than you think. I know when I think of freedom, sometimes my definition changes, but I
Yeah,
look at it from the standpoint of like right now, I'm very very free in terms
yeah.
of my time, in terms of how I spend my time, in terms of deciding how I want to spend my time. And that's a very valuable thing that once you get it,
That's addictive.
man,
I mean,
it's
yeah.
hard to even imagine giving it up, right? And if you
Just
do
a
give it up,
tangent, just to go off on a tangent.
yeah,
Like for all y'all who don't know, sometimes like me and Leif, we did a show the other day, and I went over to his place, and when you walk in, it feels like freedom. It feels warm. It feels cozy. It feels like home. These are things that kind of gloss over when you're in a different state of mind that you don't think about. Like this is gold
yeah,
right here. It's gold to walk into somebody's home and the home feels like home. When the first thought is, oh, this feels like home. And when you're home, first thing you want to do is just jump on somebody's couch and just be like sprawl out. You know what I'm saying? That was my first instinct was sit on the couch, sprawl out. What y'all doing up here? Y'all living good. I ain't going nowhere. What we got in the fridge today? Buddy. So that's what to me freedom feels like. And when you get that feeling, you don't want to let that feeling go. And that feelings when it comes to human beings drive us. Emotions drive us, not logic.
yes,
Everybody on here is grown. We know a lot, and everybody can think, pretty much logically. But it's not logic. It's not Mr. Spock. That's the captain. It's Captain Kirk because Captain Kirk, he's emotional, right? He ain't worried about no data. Spock's like, there's a 1.00 negative
yeah,
chance we'll get this. He's like, I'll take it. Let's go for it,
exactly.
right? So, it's emotions, it's feelings that drive us. And so you have to really, when it comes to doing vision boards and when it comes to getting that vision in your mind, try to put that emotion and that feeling with it because that's what's going to drive you. That's going to be the fuel that fills up the rails of the logic that you build uh, in order for your will to be initiated and carried out in your life.
Yep. Let's see, my man Michael. Actually, I'll go back a little bit further. Read some of these comments. Let's see. Let me start with yeah. I'll start with Crystal here. Said freedom is the
Okay.
willingness to walk and live without prejudice or judgment. And then Takia said, "Oh, come on, gents. You both already know what I'm going through for freedom. Hey, it's necessary." Crystal said, "I'm truly fighting for my freedom now. It's a heck of a battle." Let's see. Yeah, no couch over here. My man Mike, brother
Mm,
Mike Jackson. He said, "Freedom for me was when I stopped living for the approval of others that really don't even
that's
care about
powerful.
you. Freedom was also making the decision to no longer owe anyone except for a home, no credit cards, no car payments, etc. I can't pay cash. I don't need it and want it. Yeah, I'm there,
That's
brother.
true. That's powerful.
Yeah, I've been there for a grip in terms of that. Actually, I didn't even get rid of my house, to be honest. Crystal said how unfair the system is and how some authority figures take things way out of proportion. Uh, yeah, so you can't go visit Takia Kev because she doesn't even have a couch anymore.
Oh, I'll find a place to sprawl out, whether it be on the floor. I ain't going nowhere until I get my feel goods in, my comfortable in.
He's silly. But
Bean
yeah,
bag, I don't know what you got.
yeah, it's really a matter of just okay. Tamar said something. So I'm so focused on Jesus, I have tasted the goodness of Him. My mind is so bent on trusting Him in my finances. My scene is pay my tithes and my offering. What I have left, pray to Him that it meets every need. I'm coming up and out. My credit score is going up. My bills are paid. Blessings upon blessings. Money is chasing me. That's my mindset. That's my build focus. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. CL said, freedom is not to be obligated to others for my sustenance. Cool. I don't know who posted that. Say, you can sleep. How did that get posted from our?
I don't know. I didn't do that.
That's-
Did you do that?
no, that's what I'm trying to figure out who did it.
Somebody must have hijacked our page or something.
Yeah, I know that's messed up. Yeah,
I'm
I'll be able.
scared.
Nah, I'll be able to figure it out because
It might be Mark Zuckerberg or something playing jokes on us.
but yeah, man, it's like the freedom aspect of stuff. Again, it just really boils down to what you want out of life, how you gonna do
Oh,
it.
Lamar.
It's like, oh, Lamar.
Lamar did
Oh yeah, he did it.
that.
Cool. Hey
Nah.
man, quit messing with our page, man. This ain't the little head hour. but, uh, but anyway, it is really about the sacrifice. It is really about again deciding what you want out of life, and just being crystal clear about it. Period. That's the thing. We're so fuzzy. We're so unfocused on life that we don't even see how to. We don't even know what we want. So we stay in body just out of pure confusion. Look, Kevin's messed. He's like he don't know what to say now because of
I
the
don't know
Trump
what to
stuff.
say, man.
He's stymied. He's like flex on him, Kev, just to get past it.
Yeah. Yep, yep.
Kevin gets confounded easy. Kevin doesn't like certain kinds of attention.
I know. That's what you always be trying to get me to do like gym posts and stuff. That's why I don't do them.
the Kevin showed the butt pick and they can't live past it. But yeah, Pam, he's a, he's
See, this is gonna be weird whenever we do it on other platforms. Like, what's going on here?
yeah, because nobody's gonna know what's going
Yeah,
on.
they
They're
ain't
not
gonna
gonna
be,
have
they
any
ain't gonna
idea.
get it on the replay.
Uh,
But yeah, let's get this.
fellow buff dude, Justin, he said it's all right, Kev. He said I go through it too.
Hey, pictures can be deceiving. You gotta get the right angle, get the right lighting and stuff. I might be some scrawny
He's on his Instagram angles.
Instagram angles. Yeah, you gotta get it just right.
Let's see. Tamara said you have to jump. Either God will catch you or teach you how to fly. Yeah, and it really is just a matter of being willing to
Having
do it.
faith.
Period.
Yeah. Having
It's like
having faith that things will work out. Yeah, the fear and faith when it comes to living in freedom is that you have to have the faith to get over the fear in order to, like the monkey, let go of the salt, let go of the
yeah,
banana, and just know that everything's going to be okay whenever you let go. And there's more salt waiting for you on the other side.
better
So
things than the salt, actually.
yeah, way better things than the salt. Um, but that's all I really had, man. I just hit the word wall. That's literally all I had.
Lamar's had squeezing his brain, man. Quit messing with Kev, man. He can't take it. He can't
I
take
can't take it, man. I'm frizzled.
it. He's in prison, not even frazzled.
I'm just frizzled and frazzled.
But yeah, man, that's what's up. Again, just for everybody, we're talking about freedom. Whatever you're willing to give up, understanding what it is. And here's what's funny, right? Uh, People don't even know what they have half the time to give up something.
Well,
It's
yes,
funny
that
in
you
and of
don't know what
itself.
you have, and then you realize what you have when you actually do start clearing out and making room for some things. What they say, scarcity brings clarity,
Yep.
and we start like clearing stuff out, decluttering. It starts exposing what you do have, and it starts exposing those diamonds, those nuggets, those pearls that each and every one of us have in our own backyard. I'm thinking about the speech,
Yep.
uh, talking about diamonds in your what you do have in your own field versus always looking at somebody else and what they have. And so when it comes to freedom, what are you willing to give up? And I think this is a very poignant and very timely discussion to have, especially given the world that we live in. We live in a world that's highly based and highly orchestrated around consumerism and not being intentional about our lives and purposeful about the things that we consume, whether it be mentally, whether it be emotionally, whatever you give your heart over to, whether it be physically or financially, if that makes any sense, and not allowing uh, allowing what we're looking to consume to be the end all be all, and not allowing that to ensnare and capture and hold us hostage, but wielding discipline and being good stewards over what we have been given stewardship over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that you become operate as a king.
Yep.
Kings operate in freedom, but they have restraint and they have wisdom about the freedom that they have. So hopefully, I'm not bouncing around too much.
No, no,
Just wanted to
you
kind of,
good. Yeah, and then Michael Jackson, he said getting rid of clutter is beyond just materials, mental clutter, spiritual clutter, emotional clutter, relationship clutter.
yeah.
And
Well, all
then
that stuff gets exposed, and all that stuff comes out in the open to the wash, so to speak. When you start in one area, it usually exposes all the other areas of your life too.
yeah,
For
like you
example,
said earlier, it's a domino effect.
it's a domino effect. Yeah.
See, my man Justin said, he said it's similar to the military. He said they strip you down pretty much of all your basic rights, pretty much of almost all your rights. He's in and brainwash you over time. Let's see, Takia said, I think it was Yvette Carnell who said either you want freedom or you just want a better seat at the table of slavery. There is no in between. Yeah, that's definitely a
Yeah.
good quote. And oftentimes, like you said, sometimes we don't know the difference though. That's the big thing. Just getting that clarity, the mental clarity, like Mike was saying, being crystal clear. I know I keep repeating it over and over, but that's the key.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
You have to get that image in your mind very, very clear, right?
That
Uh,
that's why companies spend millions to make sure they implant your
yeah,
mind with all kind of images about how they want you to view and feel about their message or their product. That says something when a company is spending millions of dollars for a few seconds, a few minutes during the Super Bowl or during this big event. And, they'll say that out of one side of their mouth, and then out of the other side, they'll say, well, this really didn't have a big effect. It don't matter.
yeah,
This, that, and the other, kind of quell and put, squash some opposing voices out there. But, you follow the money that's going to tell you what really matters most in the world and what really gets results. So, believe me, if they're spending millions to understand and implant thoughts, As I'm talking earlier, I was thinking about the movie where he has the glasses. They Live,
Yeah, yeah,
where Roddy Ron Piper has the glasses. He said, "I'm here to chew bubble gum and kick butt." And he said, "I'm
yeah,
all out of bubble gum."
yeah,
He puts the glasses on. It's like an ad that says "consume more." It's
yeah,
like an
yeah, yeah.
ad that says, "Yeah." So literally, this is the world that we live in. Right? We should be sold at 7-Eleven. What's that about? Where are we going with this?
I know. He's like, I'm waiting for you to add clarity to that before I give a response.
Viagra should be sold at 7-Eleven. So, hey, if you think it should be added to the list of freedom, write your congressman or senator and see what we can do about it. But if you had freedom, if you had good health, you wouldn't be worried about no Viagra, bro. You
Okay,
wouldn't
take
need the blue
that
pill.
back. That's
It was a test. Okay,
he said I
he's
got
getting
it
me on
back.
my word wall. Yeah.
That's funny. But one of the things I was just thinking though, real quick before we jump off, is be, we're talking about freedom, we're talking about mental clarity. Be sure that you're not in a state of desperation. When you're in a state of desperation, then that's when you make a lot of things that entangle you back into bondage, right? And I
Yeah.
was thinking about it from the standpoint of like you said, the things that you must have and the things that you're willing to
Hmm.
give up, right? So you almost have a dot matrix in a sense, right? It's like on the one hand, it's like, for example, say that you're trying to go for a job, right? It could be job, it could be relationship, it could be a whole litany of things, right? And it's like if it doesn't meet certain criteria, don't do it. But here's what happens: if you get put in a state of desperation, regardless of what criteria it meets, if it helps just a little bit, you end up entangling yourself in it, and you find yourself enslaved for God knows how long, because then you get comfortable in that position, even though you may not be getting paid enough, you may not be able to really meet your needs, but out of desperation and out of fear, you don't go beyond where you are, so you remain stuck, and before you know it, you spend 10 to 20 years of your life in some dead end location, and you wonder how you got there.
Yes. You spend your time putting out little fires or putting band-aids over things versus making some big leaps, some things that are going to help you get past the big hurdles in life.
Yep.
Takia said one of my mentors once told me, look for alignment. Alignment always reduces anxiety, raises awareness, and instills security. So that's a very, yeah, it's very wise. It's a very wise pearl right there.
See, Tamar said, my dad says all the time there's 24 hours in a day. Give 2 hours and 40 minutes of your time to him daily: worship, praise, reading, devotion, and fellowship. We're always too busy or don't have time when it's all said and done. We're not too busy to die. Time waits for no man. So step out on faith, write out your goals, focus on his business, and he will take care of yours. That's what's up. And then my wife said, the
Like,
older you
you get a lot
become,
of do things that feed your soul, not your ego.
yeah, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I missed over that. Yeah, that's definitely a powerful one. I gave her the love emoji. And my wife said the older you become, the more free you become for various reasons. Yeah, it's like your tolerance level just dissipates, really. Uh,
Man,
I know my dude, he always talks about, he said, man, the older I get, the less I care. And so and I find that in and of in myself as well. It's just like, because really it's just like, the more I think about it, it's like, why does anything else really matter other than the things that I truly desire? Why? It doesn't. It is like, I don't care about other people's opinions. I don't care about looking looking any kind of way. I mean, of course I do to some extent. I mean, I'm on live
right,
with an unshaved beard, right? But
right,
because I was just thinking about the things that just giving up like years ago. It's like I was super into fashion. I've literally given away probably about 5 or 6 suits within the past month. Just giving them away, just getting rid of them because I don't wear them anymore. I don't care about that stuff anymore. There's certain things that I value. Of course, I keep the one for for the necessary items, but still, it's like
right.
just a lot of things. It's like, why is this weighing me down? Why is it weighing my thoughts down? Why is it in my house? Why is it in my way? And you realize that some things just aren't worth keeping around because they just add clutter, and those things take your it just microseconds, and those things add up, right? I really think about efficiency, and the more you start thinking about your time and your freedom, those small things like, oh, it only takes me 10 minutes. Yeah, multiply that over a lifetime, and you realize how bonded you are to it. And it's like, why am I even tending to this as if I'm the slave to it and not the other way around?
Man, really hit on that. When I was running a business route for a company, we one of the things they would instill in us and indoctrinate us with was make seconds count.
Yes.
And on our route, we'd be like, oh, we only have this so many seconds to sell. So you had to get really good as far as selling somebody within literally seconds. They talk about the elevator pitch. So you had to come up, you had to have an elevator pitch when it comes to making seconds count. Whenever you would, because literally I would be in front of, business owner or a decision maker, multiple business owner decision makers throughout the day. So I had to make those seconds count if I wanted to make an impact on my bottom line, on the company's bottom line,
Yeah.
and then honestly actually help the customer or the client's bottom line as well. So when you talk about seconds, man, those things they really do matter. And when you have a lot of clutter, when you have a lot of things around you, whether it be toxic people, whether it be toxic thoughts, whether it be toxic emotions, whether it be toxic, physical ailments, these
Yeah.
things add up, and they chip away at
Oh
the
man.
quality of your life. And I don't know, like you said, the older you get, the more a lot of this stuff becomes crystal clear. And it's like, I don't have a lot of time on the board. So I need to make these seconds count. I need to redeem the time.
Yep.
And I need to make all this stuff count for something. I want to make sure that you want to make sure that you leave a legacy. You want to make sure that you leave a platform and that will launch your children, your children's children on down. And not only that, if you want to be some kind of pillar or anchor within your circle of spirit influence, whether it be you're the house on the corner or the house on the street that a lot of young people or just people in general kind of just gravitate to. You're that big mama's house or that Uncle John's house where uh, people just come for words or just come because it's an oasis in the middle of a desert. It's these things that if you're not intentional and purposeful about your life, that you kind of just push to the wayside and say that's not my thing, or that doesn't happen anymore, or that's not needed, or let somebody else do that. When I was younger, that was my thought. Let somebody else do that. It's
Yep.
not for me. I'm gonna work in the daytime, and then on the weekends and every time, I'm gonna make sure I do my side hustle. I got like two side hustles, and miss some birthday parties. Oh, don't worry about it. They'll appreciate it when they're 20.
Yeah.
When then
Exactly.
daddy decides to come around. Oh, you decided to come around now, daddy. I'm 25 years old and I'm gone. I don't need you now.
Yeah.
Skip
Like, I don't
you.
even
Don't
know
come
you,
back.
bro.
I don't
Yeah.
even know you. So, just to keep, not to say don't pursue the good life, but be mindful about how you pursue the good life and be purposeful and intentional about it and have a design about it. I just listened to Seth Godin,
Yep.
another Seth Godin book, Tribes,
Yep.
and it's only 3 hours long, but it's a good book. And he talks about the power of tribes, connecting and distilling and resonating and being a leader and being able to solve problems, but also making connections, deep connections with a few people. He talked about how we live in a world where many people strive for a lot of likes. And he just says, no, it don't really take a lot of that. It takes if you got a Wakanda with 30,000 tight knit, deep connections. He said you can shift paradigms and change the world. He
Yep.
said that's gold in this world. That's more power today than say maybe a king or a Hitler or anybody would just foam at the mouth to have had at the access of their fingertips.
Yep.
Think about it. What if Hitler, all Hitler had to do was just go live every night? You know, it, it's just amazing the power that we have and the freedom that is at your fingertips if you decide to wield this power, wield these tools with intention and with purpose. Um, so that's my soapbox, and I'm stepping off of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna step on another one real quick before we get off, because I was
Gotcha.
thinking about it as you were talking, especially when it comes to children, right? You were talking about legacy and all of this type stuff. It,
Yeah.
it's really, the adage of more is caught than taught. And when you're talking about freedom, freedom is a habit that you have to teach. It's a
Man, they
habit that
have to
you have
see
to
you
teach.
live it.
Yeah.
They have to see you. Yeah.
Because it's one thing to talk about it and it's another thing to live it. Because if your children don't live, if they don't see you living it, they have nothing to aspire to, right? If you don't get them around
Yep.
people that are living it, then they don't know. They end up falling back and they follow your footsteps, they follow your habits, they follow your patterns, and you see it over and over. Yes, Shadrach, legacy.
You
It's all
see
about
legacy,
legacy, and
legacy.
it's like, what kind of legacy are you going to leave behind? And it has nothing to do with material goods at all. It's like, what
Nope.
kind of legacy are you going to leave behind? Are you going to leave behind a legacy of living free from, uh, I guess, imperialism, so to speak,
Yeah. Yep.
tyranny of the mind, all of that kind of stuff, the things that plague pretty much the vast majority of us, right? In
Yeah.
terms of debt, in terms of
Economic
consumerism,
depression. Yeah.
in
Oppression.
terms of just, trying to impress other people, whatever it is. It's like, what kind of legacy are you going to leave your children? It's easy to tell them one thing, but if you live something else, they won't even believe you. You just end up being a liar and a hypocrite. So you got to live it out and then tell them about the life that you're living as opposed to the life that you would want to live. And so
Man.
that is something that we all have to strive for, all of us to have children. And even if you don't have children, other people are watching you anyway. It's like,
Yep.
other people are watching you
Whether you.
anyway, regardless if they're yours or not. And it's like, what is it that you want to leave behind? What aspects of freedom do you really want? It's one thing to talk about freedom when you're locked up, but when you get the opportunity, are you going to take advantage? Many people don't. They have all of these plans of the things that they want to do, but when they're faced with the hurdle of, the obstacles, they stop. And it's like, well, it wasn't so bad over here. Let me go back to where I came from, right? So you got to be very mindful, be crystal clear. I'm saying it again. Be crystal clear on what freedom looks like for you, period.
Yeah.
And don't veer
Yeah.
from it. Put it in front of your face every day. Read
Every
it,
day.
affirm it, whatever you have to do to get it stuck in your head. That's what I'm talking about. My wife said, so thankful for traveling to Chicago. We met so many different people who live in freedom.
Living
One
freedom.
being the Chicago Spider-Man. He definitely lives in freedom. Yeah, man. Like when I talk to the dude, like, one of the things I will say, if any cosplay people watching is, mega kudos to you guys, because first I didn't really think much of it. I was like, I'm gonna just support, take pictures with people just to encourage them. But when I talked to the dude Spider Man, it was different, man. It was just like he's literally living in his own version of freedom. And I'm serious. When I talked to him, I was like, man, that's deep, man. It really was. It actually blew my mind because you never think about the person that you see doing stuff, right? You go talk, like, think of all the people at Times Square. He's not even them, right? Times Square, they got your plants that are there all the time, but he just goes around
Yeah.
and does it. And when he gave me his spiel on it, I was like, man, that's powerful. It really is. And so, just again, even from that standpoint, right? Not being afraid to hear people's criticisms of you openly, right? Being able to deal with that and move on anyway. And so
Yes.
that's very, very powerful. And again, my
That's
next
yeah. I'm
question.
glad you touched on that because in the book Tribe, Seth Godin talks about that and what it takes to be a leader
Yeah,
and being able to take the hits of that somebody even remarks about you, whether it be positively or negatively. If somebody takes the time to even troll you, then that is a good thing. Even if it's just a bot. If somebody had to come up with a bot that you fall in line of on in whatever way, shape, or form, then that's a good thing. It means that you
Yeah,
have said a keyword, you are in a stream, you're on a hashtag, you're somewhere making a little noise that is getting somebody's attention. So you're doing something that's remarkable because there are a lot of people who don't do anything remarkable because
man,
they have been depressed and suppressed and indoctrinated to believe that their life is not worthwhile. So being able to take on that mindset and stand strong in the face of criticism and stand humble in the face of praise and uplifting because on your way up, just don't forget that you can come down.
oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah,
And my wife said he literally moves around Chicago like Spider-Man, no fear at all, living with no fear of absolutely freedom. And that's true. That is definitely true because there's no torment in it, right?
right.
Tamar said, "This is how I feel about Usher's Day, church anniversaries, choir day, nurses day, etc., religion, tradition, etc. What are we doing? Are we teaching the kingdom of God? So much time wasted. We have to do better as people. So goes the head, so goes the body." Yeah, that's definitely an interesting
Mm.
take on things. And in
Hmm.
some of yeah, it is definitely something to consider, right? And I actually had a conversation about this with a friend on the back end. He was just like, people are doing yada yada yada, and I'm like, well, I can't take that just from a social media post. It was based on a post, right? It was a comment based on a post, and he was like, that's what's
Okay.
wrong with religion, and he started going down this vein. And I'm like, well, I can't necessarily say that based off of a post. People are people. People are allowed to be who they are, so on and so forth. But
Right.
again, going back to what Tamar is saying, and again, it's the same for everybody. Whether it's an organization, whether it's an individual, whether it's a group, whether it's a nation, being crystal clear on what the thing is that you're trying to do, that you're trying to accomplish in life, freedom being the thing that we're talking about. If it's not crystal clear and you're not willing to sacrifice and give up for it, then you don't want it. As Jason said earlier, you don't want it or you can't get it. It's really what it boils down to. You can't get it. You may want it, but you may not even realize what it is that you need to want, right?
That's true.
And that's why clarity is so important. Clarity is where it all starts. And so you have to take the time out as an organization to regroup, to rethink, to really focus on what it is you're doing. Traditions are a tough one to get past because oftentimes people are observing traditions that they have no idea what the root was. They have no tie to it. They just know this is what we do and we're going to keep doing it. But it really boils down to just getting an understanding of who you are and what you're trying to accomplish, who you want to be, all of that kind of stuff. And that's what gets
Yep.
everything back on track and on down the right road. So, Mr.
That's the
Lee,
root. Yeah. Yeah, that's the root and that's the foundation of first and foremost understanding, like you said, yourself and then how you fit in to the larger picture, whether it be yourself, your spouse, significant other,
yep,
those close to your circle, and then how that circle fits in the overarching community, and giving that, she talked to the area of church, and she touched on what a lot of churches are teaching as far as religion and tradition. I know that's a different topic, but I'm glad you touched on it. And one of the things about religion is rests on the foundation of faith. That's what religion is for. Religion is to enact and keep faith attached and to keep faith going in those low points when you may be overcome with fear. So religion in its rightful place is good. Religion in being used in not so its rightful place, we can point to an example of religion being used to hold captive and to go against faith. So I know that's kind of off topic, but I just wanted to kind of touch on it just like you did. Maybe that'll
yeah,
be another show.
yeah, definitely. Still boils down to freedom. Takia said the problem is we think the process of freedom should look a certain way. Yeah, and the problem is, again, I'm gonna say it one more time. We don't define it.
Mm,
We talk
yeah,
about it, but we don't define it. We don't define what it looks like. We don't define what criteria has to be met in order to say that you are quote unquote free.
free.
And that's the problem. And then once you define what that is, and the process to get there is going to be different for everybody. But again, you got to define what it is. And so I definitely uh, understand what you're saying, because people think you have to go down one path to success, so to speak. But then you realize that, okay, this is not even leading me to where I think I'm going, because I realize that once you define it, then all the things that you've probably aligned yourself to are taking you in the opposite direction. So
It was, yeah,
you gotta be extremely, extremely careful. Let's see, Miss
yeah.
Erlene said, correction, I find my mind more freely now that I'm older. Yeah, Miss Erlene don't
Mm.
hold back. You don't hold back at all. But that's part of the freedom, right?
That's
That's
part of the
part of
freedom.
it. But yeah, I think that's a good stopping point personally. I mean, that's up to you, my brother.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. Um, yeah, two shy guys at a mic, just talking about what are you willing to give up for freedom, and more importantly, how crystal clear are you on the freedom that you define in your life? What does freedom look like for you? So I guess the homework assignment
Yep.
is to take a moment, get up early, go to bed late, or find that drive time, cut off the music, and just start asking your question, asking your heart. I know it's a weird statement to make, but turn everything off and let everything get silent, and ask your heart, what is freedom to you? And ask yourself and see if any answers
Yep.
come to surface. You may or may not be surprised, but I know that's a not a common, but that's a practice when it comes to kind of helping getting some clarification on satiating your soul, as Latiera said, feeding, doing the things that actually feed your soul versus your ego.
Yes.
So I can speak from personal experience that that's definitely a tactic, a strategy as far as what you could practically do to help you define and clarify what freedom looks like for you. So this is two shy guys in a mic helping you, or just talking about having a conversation about leveling up. Hopefully, the time and attention that you spent with us, hopefully you get a return on that investment that give you that help you uncover and polish off a pearl of wisdom that you can put into practice. Knowledge, they said, is power, but we say the application of knowledge,
Yes.
known as wisdom, is very powerful in this world. So, peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Shout out to D Live, Facebook, and YouTube. Peace.